Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Sports on the Positive Tip, where we have conversations at the intersection of sports and faith. I'm here with Kenny Squared. Kenny, I tell you, I think it was bigger news than it seemed to hit yesterday that Malcolm Brogdon decided to retire just like only a week before the season starts. What did you make of that? And how does that impact the Knicks?
I don't think it impacts the Knicks that much. Um, I guess he doesn't want to win a championship. I don't understand.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if it's just health, if he doesn't feel like he's healthy enough. I know he had been hurt the last couple of years. I mean, he's still young and he's only played 9 years in the NBA. I think the Knicks, though, don't have a true backup point guard now. Because, Miles McBride is not really a point guard, but I will get into more of that in our quick NBA preview this morning. Here's something, though. I have an assignment for you. You ready? You have an assignment to find this 30 for 30 ESPN documentary, and it is called 28 Outs, The Imperfect Game. So, can you guess what game they're talking about?
Um, I'm assuming it's Mike Mussina.
No, that'd be a good one, but it's Armando Galarraga's uh
Oh, duh.
game back in 2010 with the Tigers. And I got to only see about the last 20 minutes of it, but it is fascinating. I'm gonna go back and watch the rest of it. But here's the premise that I don't think you knew this. I didn't know this, but did you know this that there was a law society um, made up of law students in Monmouth University, which is close. I believe Monmouth is in New Jersey, and there were 16 students that did a full investigation on this and put together an 83-page document that they sent to the commissioner, to Rob Manfred. Now, this happened, the documentary's in 2019. This is the same time that they did all this. And you know what their purpose was, Ken? It was to have Manfred reverse this and put him on the list, the official list of a perfect game because of the missed call here. Now, Manfred, because we would have heard about this, right? Manfred denied it. He was very complimentary. He read everything, but he said that it would be two things he said. He said that he would not reverse a decision that Bud Selig made. And we're seeing that with all of the Pete Rose stuff and everything. He really has a lot of respect for Bud Selig, and that's fine. But the other thing is, he said it would open up a Pandora's box of being, able to reverse other things that are not in the record book. So the look you have on your face is who was interviewing him. She said, "Well, like what?" And he couldn't name another thing that people may, there be maybe a groundswell to reverse. What's your whole thoughts on this?
He literally got the 27th out.
Yeah,
Like it was there.
yeah,
I remember you and I watching that live
yeah,
and we were like, wow,
yeah,
he did it. And it's
yeah,
like, oh my gosh, they made the wrong call. And like, I understand if, let's say, you're talking about a 3-2 pitch that was egregious, that with the bases loaded, where it's called a strike three and it really was ball four. Like, I get not wanting to change stuff like that, but this is more semantics. He's still got a one hitter.
yeah,
And I think just by changing the ruling
yeah,
on that and saying he should have gotten a perfect game, I think
yeah,
that that's not asking a lot. Also, especially with I want to talk about this a little bit more with lockout looming.
yeah,
This would be a great way to win back some of the fans that hate Manfred. I
yeah.
don't personally, but I know there's a lot of
No,
people that don't like him.
yeah, yeah. I think Manfred's overall done a really good job. This, though, I think he's tone deaf on. I just, I mean, come on, that's a no-brainer. Yeah, I mean, just there would be nobody that would disagree. I don't think with that decision. The other thing is that 15 years later now, right? But I think it was 10 years later. Ken, what I saw in those last 20 minutes, the relationship between Armando Galarraga and Jim Joyce, the umpire, is unbelievable. It is unbelievably good. Now, they stay in touch with each other. They've done speaking engagements together. I can't wait to watch this whole thing and how they came up with it. I think it's only Ken. You can correct me. I think it's only 23 perfect games in the history of MLB, something like that. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, and so it's such a rare accomplishment. I mean, listen, it's human eyes, right? They missed it. He missed the call, and he acknowledged that he missed the
Uh,
call. Is it 23?
24.
24.
You're missing the
So,
most recent one.
oh yeah, the documentary I guess was 2019, 2020. So there's been another one. So he would be the 25th. Now there is stuff from that game in the Hall of Fame. The ball is in there and everything like that. But it's more of an acknowledgement of what happened, that the call was missed. It's not an acknowledgement, like he's not on the list of pitchers that have done a perfect game. Very, very interesting. I'm going to ask you to go out and watch that, and we can talk a little bit more about it. We've got a bunch to get into. We're going to put a cap on the Yankees season. The LCS has been, these playoffs have been exactly like I thought and you thought with the regular season so far. We got some NFL and we've got some NBA to talk about. You ready to get into this?
Let's get into it.
This episode of Sports on the Positive Tip is brought to you by the Tavern Coffee House. Attention, coffee lovers! Are you craving the perfect cup of coffee to start your day? Well, look no further than the Tavern Coffee House. It's located at 12302 Buckeye Road in Cleveland, Ohio. You can also check them out and order your coffee at thetaverncoffee.com. Hey there, everybody. This is Kenny and
Kenny squared.
with the Sports on the Positive Tip podcast. Kenny, so much to talk about today. And let's start in baseball. And before I give you time and space for the Yankees season, because when I looked back at our podcast we did last Wednesday, and we were pretty hopeful that the Yankees would start that turnaround as they had won, and it held on in the division series there against the Blue Jays, but it wasn't meant to be. The Jays take the series, but also since we've last been on, the Padres are out. The Phillies are out, the Cubs are out, and the Tigers, with just one of the more remarkable seasons, I mean, ups and downs, they're out as well. And we're down now to the final four in baseball, which I'm probably not supposed to say final four, right? But before we get to the LCS, because I think it's been fascinating so far, put a cap on the Yankee season. I know you were crazy disappointed, but sum the Yankee season up for us.
Well, I'll start with this. As you know, we went camping last weekend, so not missing a game five is a benefit.
Yeah.
But um, as far as like the division series goes, I don't think there's any way to put it other than the Yankees got outplayed by the Blue Jays in every facet of the game.
Yeah.
The Yankees' strength was supposed to be their starting pitching. The only starter that got an out in the fourth inning was Cam Schlittler in game four.
Mm.
So I think it kind of shows how this team, like, that was their strength and they couldn't make it. At times also the hitting wasn't really there. Um, you had said it, I remember in game two, like they started to pick it up towards the end. After it was 13-1, they made it 13-7. And I think they carried over a little bit in game three. But they had their opportunities in game four.
Hmm.
They had plenty of runners on base, sixth, seventh, eighth. Even the ninth inning, they got guys on, but they couldn't make it happen. Um, Here, I think, is the bigger issue with the Yankees overall. And I heard this, John Boy was kind of giving the breakdown of their season. The Yankees are built for 162 games. I mean, every year they have a winning record. Every year they are either winning the division, close to winning the division, in the playoffs. But they don't build their team to win a game or win a single series. And I think that's why it can be so frustrating.
Yeah.
Because um, you look at some of the different uh like games that they could have won that would have changed their season. Because like it's hard to play the what if game, but if they win one game, any one game that they lost in the regular season, they would be they would have had home field advantage in the division series,
Yeah.
a rested team, and get to line up their starters a little bit better. Um, I can name a bunch. I'll just go with the easy one. They committed four errors against the Blue Jays in July that cost them multiple runs. in a game that they lost pretty close,
I remember
as
that.
well as
Yeah.
they put in Devin Williams in a bad spot.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, there's other ones that I could point out. The fact that Jazz was playing third for way too long to cover up for DJ LeMahieu, who was clearly washed.
Yeah.
Um, Devin Williams in his many appearances that you could tell he was going to blow the game. Um, Anthony Volpe, who now is undergoing surgery for a problem that didn't exist in the regular season until after the season that he needs to get surgery for.
Yeah.
Even though we knew exactly when it happened. Like there are so many different things that you can point out.
Yeah.
But here's the bigger issue. Like people will say fire Boone, fire Boone. It's not going to do anything.
No. Yeah.
Um, the bottom line is their philosophy towards how they approach baseball is flawed because like they think that it's a successful season because they won 94 games, tied for the best record in base in the American League, and made the playoffs. They see the playoffs as kind of a random crapshoot. And I want to push back on that a little bit because look at the four teams that are in the LCS. The top two teams in the American League, the defending champion, and then the other top team in the National League.
Yeah.
Last year, the Yankees were the top seed. They faced off against the Guardians in the ALCS against the number two seed. So it's not just a random thing. Like you make it there because you're good
Yeah.
and because you can win in the moment. Um, as far as changes go, like the only way that I think we could see a significant change is if Brian Cashman is gone. And that's not going to happen. At least not anytime soon, unless he decides that he needs to go. Because he's been there 30 years. You're not gonna fire a guy like that. You'll maybe ask him to take a different role or advisory thing, but they're not gonna fire him.
Yeah.
Um, and if I'm looking at some changes that I think need to happen, number one, Anthony Volpe can't be the undisputed starting shortstop next year. I have
Right.
a feeling they're
Right.
going to do that and they're going to say, well, he was hurt, so
Yeah.
he'll be better next year. But there needs to at least be a sense of competition, whether that's Caballero, whether that's you grab somebody else, but you kind of need to do something there. The other thing, I think that they need another lefty in that bullpen, which like you kind of always need more high leverage guys. I
Yeah.
think that's important. Um, the last thing that I'll kind of point out here, I think there are four guys that are probably locks for their, as far as position players, locks to be starters at their current position. Aaron Judge, obviously in right field, probably going to win his third out of four MVPs. Giancarlo Stanton, DH. He was awful in the postseason, but I give him a pass for that.
Hmm.
Jazz at second. I think he's definitely going to be a lock there. He loves playing in New York, 30-30 season. I think he's fine there. The other one that people might not agree with, but I think the Yankees really like him is Ryan McMahon. He's a Gold Glove finalist, ironically, for the Rockies.
Right.
So
Right.
he can win an NL Gold Glove while he's with the American League. It's kind of interesting, but McMahon, I think, with his defense and especially having the lefties that they do, I think that he's really there. Anybody else, I think, is up for debate. Um, a crazy trade that I kind of thought up in my head, and I want to see what you think about it. Because I think another team that kind of needs a little bit of shakeup is involved here. Let's say package Volpe, Ben Rice, and one of their AAA starters, because the Yankees have a few, for Trey Turner. Do you
Hmm.
think that that would be a viable trade?
Yes. I think though Volpe, uh, with the up and down season, I'll say, and now with the injury, you probably couldn't trade him just yet. But I think a healthy Volpe, that makes sense. And you're right. I think the Phillies do need to shake something up. I mean, they're going to lose. I don't think they're going to bring Schwarber back. I think they're going to try, but I think somebody's going to pay him a lot of money. So I think they're going to have a little bit of a shakeup anyway. But that nucleus, I mean, got to the World Series, but it's been a little bit now, baseball terms, right? And they seem to also same follow the same pattern that the Yankees do the last few years. It's just they make the playoffs, but it's whether it's the Diamondbacks, the Mets, and this year the Dodgers, they just can't seem to get past this division round. So I think it's a really good trade provided that Volpe is healthy. Good trade proposal.
Yeah, I don't know, because also like I like Ben Rice, and I think there's few players that I would trade him. But Trey Turner could be your. He led the National League in batting average. He
Yeah,
could be your drop in
yeah,
leadoff hitter, and you don't have to worry about it.
yeah,
Uh, the
yeah,
other thing, and I want to also get your thoughts on this. I mentioned the looming lockout after next year.
yeah.
Do you think that's going to affect free agency? First of all, free agency this year is kind of blah.
Right,
Like you have Kyle Schwarber, Kyle Tucker's going to be the guy, which
right.
I'm not that big on him. I know
Yeah,
others might be. I don't think he's that. I think he's basically Cody Bellinger, and I think you might as well just sign him because he works here in New York. Um, but like there's not a Juan Soto type of free agent.
no,
And but do you think that teams are going to be a little hesitant to do anything with the lockout coming, especially with like the fears of a potential salary cap? Because like, let's say they make the salary cap like 275 million, and you got teams like the Yankees and the Mets and the Dodgers who are already over that.
yeah.
Like, do you think especially like the big market teams will be afraid to like add a ton of player payroll? The Yankees are losing payroll just by they stopped paying this dude named Aaron Hicks. I don't
Yeah.
know if you've heard of him. Um Also Marcus Stroman comes off of the payroll this year too. So I
Yeah.
don't know. What do you think?
I think that I think that it will affect them, but I think it's also the strike. But very, very interestingly, and maybe they just want to wait till after the World Series. We kind of was saying, and I got a lot of it from David Sampson, listening to him about the TV deal, but they haven't announced any of that officially yet, right? That NBC will get Sunday Night Baseball and ESPN will stay on, and Netflix. I think that's official, right? Netflix is going to get the All Star Home Run Derby. So I think those couple of things. Baseball has a few things looming, right? And um, these owners also don't know what they need to kick in for Vegas and Tampa Bay. Those things are looming as well as expansion. So it's a little bit of a perfect storm, I think, coming to baseball that I agree with you. I don't think that you're going to see a spending spree from any team this offseason. That includes the Mets. I don't see the Mets opening up the purse strings for Kyle Schwarber. I don't think they need him anyway. I think, they need to work on their defense, but we could talk about that another day. Um, and so I think there'll be an owner that will probably, because Schwarber is the real deal. He's as reliable as they come. He still has, I think, a good 3, 4 great years left in him before he gets into his late 30s. But outside of him, and Kyle Tucker, like you said, is considered a five-tool player. But I do think all those things are going to impact spending this offseason. Yes.
Yeah, and I do wonder, because you had mentioned the TV deal. Another one that Netflix is the only official thing. Netflix also is going to be airing opening night. It'll be the Yankees and Giants, like a
Right. Yeah.
standalone.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like, but also it might affect teams in the other way, and I kind of hope the Yankees kind of see this because like you don't know what's going to happen in 2027.
Hmm.
If there is a salary cap, if there's a salary floor, if you're forced to trade some of these bigger contracts, and maybe it forces a team like the Yankees, a team like the Mets to be like, well, forget it. We'll pay $200 million in luxury tax. Let's
Yeah.
try to win a World Series this year.
Yeah.
Like, I hope that that happens, but I'm not sure if it will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like another guy that you could easily add that would make this better, and I'm not fully sold on him, it would be Pete Alonso. Like
Yeah.
you add a power bat into that lineup, that's huge. But
And
also
he could
his
play
glove isn't
here.
great, and
Yeah.
he wants
Yeah.
7 years, and I'm not giving him 7 years.
He's not getting 7 years anywhere, Ken. I would be stunned if that's the case. And you know how I feel about Pete. I love him and I hope he's back. But he's not getting 7 years. And he could play here. Schwarber would hit a million home runs in Yankee Stadium, by the way, too. But I don't think that's the guy that you need. I mean, he'd be another DH. I have one last question for you on the Yankees. Trent Grisham and Cody Bellinger. What are you doing with them? Are you bringing them both back? Or I know you had said something that maybe that opens up for the young guys in the outfield. What are you doing with those two guys?
I'm bringing back Bellinger because I think he really fits what the Yankees need. Yankees need more guys that are bat to ball contact guys. So I would bring him back. I also like his versatility with his
Play first base.
defense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plays first base, plays the outfield. Um, I'm not bringing back Trent. He had a great year. He was clutch in a lot of big moments, but I get Jacoby Ellsbury vibes where I feel like if you pay him a big contract, you're going to regret it.
Wow. Yeah.
He had a great year, but
Yeah.
it kind of just seems like, yeah, no, well, thank you. We'll give you a qualifying offer, so
Yeah.
we get the draft compensation, but we're good.
Yeah. That's interesting. I always thought that Grisham was more known for his defense than his hitting. And he had those big home runs against the Mets in the division series a few years ago. And then he hits 34 home runs this year. So that's interesting. I'm with you though. I'm with you. All right. Let's talk very briefly about the series that are going on now. I mean, the Dodgers have totally woken. Let's start with the National League. There were two turning points, right? Well, first of all, that was a crazy play, the double play. It didn't impact how the game ended, but the double play there was just I've never seen a play like that before. And Brian Anderson is very, very underrated, by the way, as a because he knows when to raise his voice and get excited, a la Kevin Harlan, who I like. I know a lot of people don't, but that was a crazy play. But I mean, I texted you that I'm enjoying the pitching that I'm seeing in the postseason so far. There's been some of these pitching performances that have taken me back to old school to Andy Pettit and Bob Gibson even and Sandy Koufax. I'm a little young to remember any of those, but some of these legendary performances, Mariano coming in and just shutting it down, Roy Halladay with his great game. But there were two turning points for me in this Dodgers series now, and I think it'll be very, very hard for the Brewers to get back into this. They may make it a series. I mean, the Brewers are very good, but when Bryce Terang, with the bases loaded there, moved out of the way and didn't get hit by that pitch, if they had tied that game up, now you're talking, and then the turning point yesterday, and I'm not blaming Pat Murphy for here. He's a very good manager. But, Freddie Peralta, who's his ace, convinced him to go back out. And, there's a couple of balls hit hard. He's got the two outs, but then you have Max Muncy, who's been through the wars a million times, and he hits one over the center field fence. And that makes the game 3-1, which is a big difference than, 2-1. Dodgers get a couple of more runs, I think, in the ninth inning, and they kind of break it open a little bit. But Yamamoto, I mean, he was just dealing, man. And now that was the first complete game in exactly 8 years, I think, and it was Justin Verlander who had the last one in the postseason. And Blake Snell, has quieted. You were always pretty hard on Blake Snell, two-time Cy Young Award winner. I always loved him. You were a little hard on him. I think it was more Kevin Cash taking him out that year. After just yeah, he's in the sixth inning and he hadn't thrown what he threw 60 something pitches. But anyway, he showed now he can go deep in games, man. Those 8 innings were great. But what are your thoughts so far on this National League series?
I think the biggest thing is the Dodgers know that their weakness is their bullpen, and they're like, let's stay away from it as much as possible. Um, because yeah, you said that Terang not getting hit. He also struck out on a pitch at his helmet.
I was
Like,
surprised because he's been clutch. He had a walk-off home run against the Mets, if I remember right, too, this year. He's one of their best hitters and a clutch hitter. So I was surprised.
yeah, so like when you're looking at that, I'm like, man, are the Dodgers gonna do this again? Are they really gonna win the World Series again? Because like Yamamoto, like last year he was pretty good. I feel like this year he's taken a step up. And like now you're looking, wow, that $325 million contract actually looks like it's working out.
I mean, his pitches were. I mean, his splitter was just. it was falling off of the table, man. I mean, he was he was dealing. I mean, he gives us, and he gives us the leadoff home run. So you're thinking Jackson Churio, right? It's a leadoff home run, and you're thinking, uh-oh, But man, oh man, he just took a breath, and they couldn't touch him. They didn't even hit balls hard off of him the rest of the night. Um, so I'll say this real quick. You made such a great point about the Yankees and the Phillies and probably the Padres also not being built for October, and but the Dodgers are. I mean, it's so clear that they are. I mean, they had such an up and down regular season. I still won what 91, 92 games, but you know, we thought that they were vulnerable. I think a lot of people did, and now they've all just it's clicked at the right time because they've got a bunch of guys that know what it's like to be in October. Blake Snell knows what it's like to pitch in October. And Kike Hernandez, we talked about him last week. He's in the middle of every rally. Max Muncy, Will Smith. Oh my gosh. I mean, some of these guys that got hurt during the year, it almost is their advantage now that they're not tired, like Smith, like Max Muncy. And um, I don't know, man. It's going to be hard to see the Brewers beating the Dodgers at this point. On the other hand, you've got the Blue Jays and Mariners, and again, we see some really good pitching in that series from the Mariners, and this is a team that was so confusing to us over the years, last 2, 3 years especially, right? But then they finally, put it all together when they get Suarez and Naylor, who's just been light. He's been great. I didn't realize that he could run real fast, and he's a great fielding first baseman. But they put it all together with the pitching. But George Kirby last night doesn't have it. I mean, they shut down that high flying Jays offense the first couple of games, and then Kirby doesn't have it. I mean, they leave him in there to give up 8 runs last night. By the way, I guess they were saving their bullpen. And so the Jays woke up yesterday in Seattle. A strange series now. Seattle wins the first two in Toronto, and now they've won this first game in Seattle. Where are you seeing that series?
Um, I'm glad that game three happened because Vladdy didn't have a hit in the first two games.
Oh, he went
This
off last
Jays
night.
offense was like silent.
Yeah,
And it's like, man, did how did they do this against the Yankees?
yeah,
Where they gave up the most runs in a 2 game span ever.
yeah,
And then it's like, oh man. And also like my thought was, wow, like the Yankees was definitely that World Series, which they still are kind of giving that like little brother, we just beat big brother energy, but
of
we'll
course.
talk
Yeah,
about that.
yeah,
Um, they always say momentum is as good as your next day's starting pitcher. So
yeah,
I'm very curious to see um how the Mariners respond today. Um, we'll kind of see how things go. Um, I still think it's the Mariners, especially if they win either game four or game five, I think that they'll be pretty set.
yeah, yeah. And last two things I'll say about the Jays. It's a good 4 years ago at least, right? That Shane Bieber won the Cy Young. Boy, did he look
2020.
like 2020. So 5 years ago, boy, did he look Cy Young last night. I mean, he pitched great last night. And then the other one that'll make you frown a little bit is I am I am amazed that George Springer, number one, had a great year. I'm looking at your face now. And number two, he's lighting it up in the postseason. He hits a bomb over the center field fence last night. I mean, it just goes to show that October experience. Sometimes you see upstart teams that have zero October experience, but it's usually now when you get this deep, like you said, you have the best teams playing, and but some of these guys that have the experience that can step up, like Springer is stepping up. So I'll give you the last word on that. We'll jump into some football.
Yeah, George Springer tied Bernie Williams, I believe, for fourth all time in home runs in the postseason. Um, how many of those were genuine? I don't know. We're not gonna comment on that. But yeah, I think it does show, especially when you have, because you talked about upstart teams. I think when you have players like George Springer, or like you have, say, like with the Yankees, guys like Aaron Judge that has been there a while, Giancarlo Stanton. I think when you have players like that, it kind of gives everyone else a little bit of a reprieve.
Yeah,
Because like the Blue Jays, they're this iteration of the Blue Jays isn't the first time they've made the postseason. First time they made the postseason in
yeah. It's been a
like
while.
almost 10 years.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think
It's been a while.
2016 they said.
Yeah,
So like a lot of these guys don't know what it's like. They don't know the environment. But then you have a guy like George Springer who can kind of take a little bit of the edge off. And also he's like a little bit of like the villain type of guy.
yeah,
He has had a great year though, I will say. He
yeah,
probably you can make an argument that he'll finish third in not Cy Young MVP
yeah,
behind Raleigh and Judge, but
yeah, yeah,
um
yeah,
yeah, it's been really interesting.
yeah. I yeah. You know who's pitching for the Jays tonight? And I loved him for the year and a half that he was with the Mets. Is Max Scherzer. And he hasn't
Oh,
pitched in a while, but
Max
but you
Scherzer
know.
was with the Mets.
All right, I guess we'll move on from baseball. We'll get more to that next week. We're gonna jump right into football. I've got questions for you, young man. Usually I agree 100% with you on your charts here, but I've got some questions for you. So let me pull it up, and you could start talking about your categories and how you came up with them. Let me make sure I have it up here first.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can start talking.
well, I figured I'd go with an interesting theme, um, because like it's we're in LCS season. I figured I'd go baseball rankings here. So the bottom tier is the Rockies tier, the team that's like, man, I don't know what to think of this team. I don't really know how I can feel about them. Um, I have the Giants there because I feel like putting them up right now would be a little bit fanboy-y.
Okay, well, that's
Um,
my question to you. They come off probably the best win they've had in years, and we're seeing, and it's a fun name to say, right? Scatterboo.
yeah.
But we're seeing Jackson Dart really coming out party. We see Dabo going crazy. He's not supposed to look at. He's going to get fined for that. Not supposed to look in the tent when Dart comes out. Russell Wilson comes in just for the one couple of plays, and he looks awful. I mean that game had everything to me. Now it's a while ago, right? It's a week ago, but how did you put the Giants in last? I know everyone knows you're a Giant fan, but I, I don't think they deserve to be in the same category with the Dolphins, the Browns, and the Jets.
I guess part of it too, I'll maybe if I explain what the
Yeah,
other
go ahead.
tiers look like, it
Yeah.
probably I think that's also where it is. Because I have the Mets next. The next tier is like the teams that were supposed to be good and aren't.
Okay.
The bigger
Okay.
disappointments. And I feel like putting the Giants there would have felt weird.
Okay.
And then the third tier is the Reds, the teams that are like, we're kind of happy to be here and like we're
Yeah.
excited about where we are.
Okay.
So maybe they would have fit there, and maybe I
Okay.
should have done that.
No, no,
Um,
no. Yeah, you're good. I never disagree with this, but I do have a couple other questions in this category as you go through. One is, and you can hit on them. The Browns, I mean, I don't know what to say about them. Their offense is awful, and I know we're on a positive tip, but man, oh man, um, there's been a little bit of a groundswell here of the Jets being as awful as they are, of maybe just giving a number five pick to the Browns and bringing in Shador. I'm not sure what that would do for the Jets at this point in the season. Um, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on Tua's um, press conference after the game, how he basically killed a lot of his teammates, saying, we have guys showing up late, we're lacking leadership, so he's killing his coach too. So go ahead. I'm interested in those two things if you can hit on them. The Jet, not so much the Jets. Listen, the Jets. What an odd. I mean, we didn't see the game obviously because it's on Sunday morning, but saw the highlights. That series before the end of the half where they make this great play to um, you know, fake punt and they get the first down and then he lets the clock run out. I'm like, I'm scratching my head as did Garrett Wilson, as probably mostly everybody saw. So if you can hit up the thing on, I want anxious to hear your thoughts on the Dolphins and Browns.
Yeah, I'll start with those guys and then kind of scatter a couple other things. The Dolphins are an implosion waiting to happen. Um, with Tyreek Hill out, there wasn't much hope there anyway. They play the Browns this week, so it's kind of like the
Yeah,
who's gonna have the better draft pick
yeah,
game.
yeah.
Um, but you like Tua, I think calling out his team, and then also Mike McDaniel kind of saying like he was wrong. He shouldn't have said it. It just kind of seems like nobody on that team is on the same page, and that's not a good recipe. Mike McDaniel has kind of seemed like the coach that's ready to like he's kind of seemed like fire me please. Like with a lot of his bizarre press conferences, he kind of seems a little like I know he's a little bit of an oddball anyway, but he seems like he's just done there. Um, but also like Tua's talking about leadership. You are the
Yeah,
QB1 of that team.
yeah.
Like leadership should start with you, even if you want the head coach to kind of be a little bit more involved. So I think that that's an issue.
Hmm.
Um, with the Browns, did I mention the awful stat about the Browns quarterbacks last week?
I think so, but go ahead.
Yeah, the Browns. If I didn't mention this, the Browns are paying 8 quarterbacks currently. 8. And like some
Wow.
teams would be fine with that. Like if the Giants were paying 8 quarterbacks right now, they'd be fine because they have Jackson Dart and they know he's going to be the future.
Hmm.
But like out of those 8 quarterbacks, first of all, 4 of them aren't even on the team, and secondly, the 4 that are on the team, nobody believes in them. Um,
Yeah.
to me, the biggest, first of all, the Browns are the only team this year that hasn't scored more than 17 points in a game. Um, I believe it's like 12 baseball teams have scored more runs than the Browns have scored points in a game.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
but like to me, the most confusing thing, Dylan Gabriel does not look like he is ready for the NFL. He just
No.
doesn't.
No.
And but like it doesn't seem like Kevin Stefanski has any desire for Shador Sanders to see the field,
Hmm.
which tells me that he didn't want to draft him and he was told to draft him,
Yeah.
even though they'll probably say otherwise.
Yeah.
Um, but at this point, like Gabriel's been so bad, just throw him out there. He can't be worse. Shador can't be worse than Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah.
And at the minimum, and I think this is why Haslam will eventually make him do it. At the minimum, it'll become a big story because Shador Sanders has been a big story for since he was drafted. Um, so I'm just kind of curious to see what's going to happen there. A couple of the other teams on those tiers. You got the Jets. The Jets have. I'm close to making a separate sub tier for them if they don't win over the next 2 weeks. They got to win a game here.
Yeah.
Um, but also like you're starting to get to the point where you're not sure because like going into the year, you felt like the Jets were starting to build something. Aaron Glenn seems like he was building a good culture.
Yep.
Justin Fields having kind of a little bit more freedom to do what he was doing or should have been doing in Chicago. But now, 6 games in, you feel like you're exactly where you were last year, where you don't know who's going to be your long-term quarterback. You don't feel great about the head coach, and that's not where you want to be. The Raiders, I think, also might be in that spot. They had a pretty good game, but still, I'm not sold on them. The Saints, I mean, the Saints have looked okay over the last couple weeks, but still not great. Um, the other one that sticks out to me is the Titans, who fired their head coach, and I guess I don't necessarily disagree. We talk about it all the time. Teams that are switching their coaches every 2 years doesn't work.
Never
That's
successful.
why it's always the
Yeah.
same like 6 teams
Yeah.
that continue to just rotate coaches.
Yep.
Um, the Titans have no idea what they're doing. You had Mike Vrabel, who was a great head coach, and you fire him after making the AFC Championship game in a game that you probably shouldn't have been in, and you lost.
Hmm.
And now you're firing this head coach who's been there a year and 6 games, and 6 of those games with a rookie head quarterback or rookie quarterback. And then last year you didn't have a sufficient quarterback. So I don't get it. Um, next here is the Mets, the teams that have been to me the most disappointing this year. Got the Commanders there. A lot of that is more health related. Same with the Bengals. A lot of it is health related. The last few weeks, the Cardinals, they've had a couple opportunities to win some games and they haven't. The Cowboys just they're not there right now. The Texans, I think, have the argument for one of the most disappointing teams in the year. Overall, had a good win against Baltimore.
Yeah.
Um, and really, you look at their defensive numbers and they look great, but CJ Stroud just hasn't had it yet this year.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously the Ravens. The Ravens have been, I think, the most disappointing team
Ah,
easily in football. Um,
they have a
I
bye
believe they
week
have
this
a bye
week.
this week.
Yeah.
Uh, and and then they play Chicago. And
Ugh.
it's not dramatic to say that they are playing for their season at this point,
Oh yeah.
which means I think Lamar Jackson, healthy or not, is probably going to play.
Hmm.
And we'll kind of see how it goes. Uh, but yeah, they're not doing too great.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, the next tier is the Reds. The Reds, the team that made it in, and they were just happy to be there. They're not going to do anything in the playoffs at this point because the Reds didn't do anything, but they're happy to be there. Right now, I have the Chiefs there, and some people would probably
Wow.
have an issue with that.
Yes.
Um,
I have that question. Go ahead.
to me, it's I need a couple more games. Um,
Okay. That's fair.
because like they beat the Ravens, great. Everyone's beat the Ravens except for the Browns this year. Like I need to see a couple more games. I need to see them go about 5-3 before like they're fully back in like the we're the cream of the crop team because it could easily go south again. And if it does, it's like, well, I don't know. Would you be that surprised if things start to kind of fall apart again? I guess maybe not. The
No.
other thing is Patrick Mahomes. He has been a big part of it, and I think that's why maybe there's a little bit more staying power
Yeah.
because I think they've averaged like 32 a game over the last 3 or 4 games.
Yeah.
Really, since they've faced the Giants, they've kind of just it, they kind of like turned on the switch. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're higher up next week.
Okay.
But
I mean,
I think,
they did beat the Lions.
yeah, and that's not I'm not knocking that,
Right.
but like they are still only 3-3. And also to me, one of the bigger things is they're still third in their division. It's hard for me to put them over the Chargers or over the Broncos when like
Right.
they're not even ahead of them yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
I debated putting, there was a lot of thought on who is the last top five team and also whether I should have the Chiefs higher or lower. And I was like, well, they're still only 3-3 and they're third place.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
it to me, it was harder. That would be
Okay.
like putting, I don't know, like the Texans higher because they're in third place or the
Right.
Cowboys. Like it just,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
The Niners injuries is kind of the only thing stopping them right now. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know why they always have crazy, significant season ending injuries, but yet still kind of figure it out.
Fred
I think a lot
Werner.
of that's head
Wow.
coaching.
Fred Warner, rather. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, the Bears, I don't know how to deal with the Bears.
Uh,
They've won three straight. Their division's really good.
yeah.
I don't know what to think.
Yeah. They're good.
Hopefully
Yeah.
Caleb Williams has kind of found his coach and they can kind of
Yeah.
get that chemistry going.
Yeah.
Because once again, like we talked with the Jets, like you don't want to be at the point where you're at the end of the year and you're like, I'm not sure if this guy's the right quarterback or I'm not sure if this guy's the right head coach. But it seems like they're starting to get that groove, and that's good. The Falcons are a very confusing team to me as well. Um, I feel like they should be better than they are,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe right where they are, they're second place, 3-2. I think that's probably like around where they land.
Yeah.
Um, But I think one of the teams that's been surprising the last few weeks has been the Panthers. They beat the Cowboys. They're now 3-3. You're starting to maybe see Bryce Young maybe
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
doing good things. I don't know.
They get
And
the
then the
Jets
Vikings.
this
I don't know
week.
what to do with the Vikings either.
Yeah, neither do I. Hey, let me go back to the Falcons for one quick second. I thought that was a great win Monday night, and Robinson. Oh my gosh, he's a just a phenomenal player, and I think Penix Jr. is good, but it seems to me that there's just other things on that team that are clicking, namely their defense and their wide receivers are very good, and Robinson is just he's all world, man. I'll share a real quick interesting story. we had someone from the church that was down in Atlanta, actually stayed right across from the stadium, and she texted me. She said, "Pastor, for some reason, it seems like there's a ton of Buffalo Bill fans here in Atlanta because everybody's wearing the Bills garb and everything like that." But they had traveled down there, and sure enough, during the game, and that was an early game on that doubleheader, so I watched most of that. Um, During the game, is Chris Fowler pointing out that the stadium is filled with more than half Buffalo Bills fans, and you could tell they were cheering the Bills. So I thought that was very interesting that a lot of Bills fans they travel, but the Bills I think are in a little bit of trouble. I know you'll talk about that in a second, but I thought that was a great win for the Falcons.
Yeah, we'll start there.
Yeah,
Next year is the Yankees, the team that seems to make the playoffs, but seems to be disappointing every year. We'll start with the Bills because they're 4-2.
yeah,
They were the last AFC team to lose a game. And now all of a sudden you're like, wait, are they as good as we thought they were?
yeah.
You look at their wins, the teams that they beat have a combined 3 wins. Um,
Wow.
and you're looking at it, you're like, I don't know how good they are.
Yeah.
Um, and now all of a sudden it's like, well, is Josh Allen even good? Is the coach like there starts to be the same questions over and over again. Um, I think I forgot who they play this week, but I think this week is a very telling week because for the first time in a minute, um, oh, they're on a bye, and then
I
they
was
come
gonna say I
back
don't think
against
they play this week. Yeah.
they go Panthers and the Chiefs. So
Okay.
these next 2 games I think will be big for them. Um, but right now, when was the last time that they weren't in first place? Really at all over the last several
Hmm.
years.
Yeah.
Because now the Patriots have taken that.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if you saw this, which is like we're throwing it back to like 2009. Um, the Chargers are in first place, the Steelers are in first place, the Patriots are in first place,
Hmm.
uh,
Wow.
and also the Colts. So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
what's going on? The Steelers had a win. I mean, watching that game against the Browns was just like, wow, this is boring football.
Yeah, no,
But like,
it was an awful game. Yes, I agree because that was on TV here. So yeah, I whatever the game was on Fox, I watched. I forgot which one that was, but it'll come back to me. But yeah, no, I had to turn from it.
yeah, we watched it because like both of my kids are like rooting for the Browns, and both of them asked afterwards, like, why do they keep losing? That's a mystery since 1999, kids. Um, but honestly, Aaron Rodgers, like, does it hurt you as a Jet fan to see how he seems to have found a little bit of a renaissance there?
Yes and no. He's got great receivers too now there, but I think listen, because he's not losing the game for them. And I don't want to take anything away from Aaron Rodgers. He's going to walk into the Hall of Fame. Hated the couple of years he was here with the Jets, but um, I think he's been good enough, right? If that makes sense. There's still some passes that I see him missing that he wouldn't have missed in the past from that game that I did parts of it that I did watch, but um, does it? No, I don't feel anything. Aaron Rodgers, I mean, took a shot, didn't work out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean the Steelers keep winning, and everyone else in that division stinks.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah,
congrats on winning the North.
yeah,
Um, the Seahawks, I might have a little low here. Them, the Steelers, and the Packers were kind of the teams I was debating on top
yeah,
five there.
yeah,
Um, the Seahawks seem to be one of the better overall teams that no one's talking about.
yeah,
Sam Darnold's like, hey, I'm actually good.
yeah.
Um, so I think that's interesting. Kind of like the Bills, the Eagles, all of a sudden you look and you're like, whoa, how much
Yeah,
of fool's gold was it for 4-0?
yeah,
And also, it's still early enough. The Giants did beat them already. And yes, they have to still pass everyone else in the division. But is the
yeah,
division vulnerable? I don't
yeah,
know. If the
yeah,
Giants come back and win, I, I won't say that I called it because I kind of abandoned that take a little bit. But
yeah, yeah,
um, Broncos also I might have slightly low. The Broncos have been very solid. They have an excellent head coach. Their defense also is really good. Bo
Yeah,
Nix most of the time doesn't blow a game, so there you go. Not the Chargers. The Rams have been really good.
yeah,
I don't have much to say on them. Um, the Patriots and their potential MVP, Drake May. I don't think he's the MVP now. He might get a couple votes, but he's kind of there. You got the Jags who are, I don't know, they're in the race. I think one of the bigger disappointments as far as drafts go, Travis Hunter hasn't done much, and I don't know
yeah,
what to think of that.
yeah, yeah. He made a great catch in one of the games previous week, I think. But you haven't heard as much from him. You're right. Yeah,
He was supposed to be like the hot shot guy, and
yeah, yeah,
they traded up with the Browns and nothing.
yeah,
Um, all right, top five. I'm gonna go 5-1 here. I got the Packers. I don't know. Jordan Love seems pretty good. They've only lost one game. That's part of the reason why I put them up there.
yep,
So I don't know. They're leading one of the toughest divisions in the conference. So or they're up there with the Lions.
yeah,
The Chargers too. I feel like maybe we'll see in a couple weeks, but I think they're still up there.
yeah.
The Lions, despite losing to the Chiefs, I think the Lions have had
Kept him
probably
up
some of the
there.
more
Okay,
impressive wins.
okay.
Um, they've been up there. To me, the top two teams are the Colts and the Buccaneers.
Yeah,
And especially as a Giants fan living in Cleveland, it hurts when you see the former quarterbacks of both doing well. But you look at the Colts, I think one of the biggest things aside from Daniel Jones kind of taking on just a new perspective and a new place has been Jonathan Taylor, who's been excellent. Um, he's been really good.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but I mean, I want to just say the Buccaneers has been one of the funnest stories to watch,
Oh,
and continuing to see Baker Mayfield evolve into right now. I don't look at like the odds and such like that. I maybe I'll do that in a minute, but I would assume that he's the odds-on MVP favorite, and his story of redemption from first overall pick with the Browns, where it worked out pretty well, and then the Browns kind of said, "You're too immature for us, bye."
yeah,
And then goes to Carolina, and it kind of seems like his career is over there. Bounces to the Rams for a hot second, and then takes over for Tom Brady, who just retired, and he has done nothing but win the division since he's been there. And
yeah,
now they're looking like they've taken that next step and are probably the favorites right now to win the NFC.
yeah.
I mean, shout out to him. Shout out to also a coach that has done pretty well there, Todd Bowles. Uh,
You
I
know,
hate to say it because
he's
I
a good
know
coach,
with the
though.
Jets he was awful, but
Yeah, I never thought he was awful. I never thought he'd be a great coach. I thought he was a good coach, but he's better than good now. I don't say he's a great coach just yet, but um, what Baker has done, and that was the 4:30 game this past Sunday was them against the Niners, and I mean Baker is just a couple of plays that he made were just spectacular. And you're right, not many folks are still talking about him. Um, but also what's happening in Indianapolis is just unbelievable. It really is. And I think both, you being as fair as possible, you knew that Daniel Jones has talent.
yeah.
And, just to get into now a place where he can show that talent, I mean, listen, the Colts were kind of the last few years were just we were scratching our head, right? Because they'd come up with a big win and then they'd lose two or three in a row in excruciating fashion, and now I mean you've got this guy. So that quarterback is so important. I mean, you look at your top tier there, and and what do they have in common? You've got some just outstanding play at the quarterback position on those five teams, you know, and so that position continues to be the most important. And Baker is just unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, you said the top five. Also, you look at the top two tiers,
Yeah.
there's not like a controversy as to who should start there
No,
at
no,
all.
no. All right, great job as always. Let's really quickly talk about what are you watching this week, and maybe we'll save our in-depth NBA preview for next week because I had a lot prepared. I'm sure you had a lot prepared, and maybe we'll save that. Maybe we'll just do a brush over real quick in a few seconds here. But 1 o'clock, and I'm sorry, Sunday morning football, which is that every week now? Seems like it is. But this would be a matchup I would love to see at like 4:25 on Sunday, and that's the Rams and Jacksonville in London.
Yeah, Jacksonville's kind of their second home, so
Yeah.
I want to say this is the one of, if not the last one.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, I don't see any others coming up here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I mean, that is a great matchup, and I would probably take the Rams
Yeah.
because I trust their head coach more.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You already talked about Miami at the Browns. Uh, a lot of eyes are still going to be on that game though for a couple of reasons, right? To see how Miami comes out, but also to see if the Browns can eventually get this turned around. And then you've got Philly at the Vikings, and I was with you, man. The Vikings are just a puzzling team, but Philly hasn't been playing great either. What are you thinking there?
I think I lean towards Philly to kind of right the ship.
Yeah. Okay. Um, Carolina at the Jets. I mean, Carolina's a very good. I shouldn't say very good team. They're a good team now, and but Kenny, you hear the noise there in Cleveland about the Browns. I mean, quadruple that here in New York about the Jets this past week. I mean, it has just been. I have to turn off the radio and everything like that because they are just crushing the Jets and saying Aaron Glenn should go. And listen, I can't. I don't have anything to say in their favor. Will they get their first win here against Carolina?
I think if you're looking at it, this is probably one of their best chance to get a win
Yeah,
soon.
yeah, yeah. Boy, if the Jets go 0 and 18, man, forget it. I'm moving then, because forget it. Um, so finally at 4 o'clock, the Giants are playing. And it's because they're at Denver. What are you thinking?
This is to me one of the games that'll make or break the Giants season. Because like they could beat Denver, who a lot of people consider a very good team. Um, and they move to 3-4.
Yeah,
Just like that, they're kind of on the precipice of like
yeah,
becoming a potentially frisky type of team. So
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
this is a big game.
Okay.
I don't know because the Broncos are a really good
Yeah,
defensive
yeah,
team. So
yeah. I yeah, that'll be a really nice matchup to watch. Probably when they put this together at the beginning of the year, they didn't think this would be quite the matchup because it's 4:05, so it's not the featured national game, and that's Indy at LA against the Chargers.
ooh,
Yeah,
I pick Indy there.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I
Wow.
think they'll be really good.
Yeah, because the big one at 4:30 that they have now is the Commanders at the Cowboys, but that's a big game for the Commanders, man.
Oh
I'm not
yeah,
sure what to expect from Dallas, but that's a big game from the Commanders. What are you thinking?
I agree. I think it's a really big
Yeah,
game for the
yeah,
Commanders.
yeah,
The Cowboys also like if they move to 2-4-1, they're gonna kind of very quickly be irrelevant.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And that'll
yeah,
be interesting because it'll make a lot of
yeah,
headlines. But
yeah.
yeah, it'll be very interesting.
And I'm sure the Cowboys are scheduled for a lot more national TV games the rest of the year too.
Oh yeah.
Another Monday night doubleheader. Houston at Seattle is the late one. I mean, listen, CJ Stroud, that'll be a big win if they can pull it off against that crowd in Seattle, which is amazing. But I think the game of the week is the 7 o'clock game. I'm loving that 7 o'clock start time for Monday Night Football, and that is Tampa at Detroit.
Yeah, this is people are always like, "Oh, well, they're fighting for the number one seed." They might be. Um, but I think it's a bigger game for Detroit than it is for Tampa. Because I think Tampa most people consider a very good team. But like if Detroit has back-to-back losses now because
Yeah,
they lost to the Chiefs,
yeah,
they lose to the Buccaneers too, and they
yeah.
lost to the Packers. It's gonna start looking like they're kind of that second tier type of team. So
Right. Right.
I think Tampa probably still pulls it off because Baker has just continued to win in the come from behind fashion, though.
Yeah, that crowd is going to be loud in Detroit, and you can bet there's not going to be Tampa fans there like it was in Atlanta. You know, there's going to be Lion fans there, and they're going to be loud. So that should be a great game to sit down on a Monday night. And these games have been over around 10 o'clock, which is great. I think there's not many more Monday night doubleheaders either, but this is I kind of like that early game. You know. Um, all right. Great job with the NFL. What are you thinking? NBA, I know will be 2 days. The season starts next Tuesday. Are you good starting doing our preview next week?
Yeah, we could do it next week.
Okay.
Do we want to just say who we think's gonna
Yeah,
win it
sure.
or the finals matchup?
Yeah, yeah. Um, you listen, the Knicks have to get to the finals. It's the Knicks have to get to the final. This is the window that is wide open this year. I'll just be real quick. I think that the teams in the East is going to be the Cavs and Detroit, and those will be the two teams that the Knicks are going to have to worry about. I think Indy, Celtics, Sixers, Bucks, Atlanta, Heat, of those teams. I think the Knicks are much better than. And so this is the year. So I'm saying Knicks Rockets going back to 1994. I think OKC will be great again. I think Minnesota Lakers, Dallas when they get Kyrie back, I think will be a handful. I think the Warriors a full year with Jimmy Butler. They're going to be desperate. Denver, I think, will still be good. San Antonio will be better. But OKC, I think, is a great team. But there it's just that coach with the Rockets is great. I mean, they won 50 something games last year. Then they go out and get Kevin Durant, who is also going to play desperate because he's on the back end of his career. So Knicks Rockets is my pick. What say you?
Ooh. Well, we're a Knicks podcast, so I have the Knicks too. Um, but also I'm going with the Thunder. I think that
Okay.
they're a young enough team. Yes, they might take a step back. I don't think they're gonna win a billion games like they did this year. I think they could be 2 or 3 seed, but I do think that they end up
Yeah.
pulling it off.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. We're going to get more into detail next week because I think there's some interesting things bubbling in the NBA that I want us to take the time to talk about Giannis and a few other things that I think we could really, really take a little bit more of a deep dive in. So on the record, we've got Knicks Rockets, Knicks OKC. Um, ready to get to some inspiration?
Let's do it.
All right. I'm going to be real quick. This is a little bit of a tough one. Eli Robinson, the brother of Duncan Robinson, back in April, on April 30th of this year, climbed up on a bridge in New Hampshire, jumped off, and he committed suicide and killed himself. And I kind of ran across this story accidentally, and Duncan Robinson is his younger brother. Now, Duncan Robinson, by the way, I don't know if you know this, he's with Detroit now. He signed with Detroit in the offseason, which I think is a great signing for Detroit. Now, their hot shooter still doesn't have a home yet, right? Why is his name escaping me? Because the Knicks were talking to him. They were investigating him for gambling, but they cleared him. It'll come to me. Malik is his first name. Malik Monk? No, that's not Malik Monk. It'll come to me. You'll say his name. But Robinson, I think, is a great pickup for Detroit. Um, his brother suffered from schizophrenia for his entire life, and then he went through a period where he was into drugs and alcohol, which fueled it a lot more. Um, Here's what Duncan Robinson said. He wants to turn that pain into progress, and we know as believers in God that um, just because we're believers in God, that doesn't mean that bad things aren't going to happen. But God uses every single thing in our life, and He uses every single thing for the good. And that seems to be what's taking place in this story as Duncan Robinson and his family have started the Robinson Family Foundation. Because what they found through this journey, Kenny, that he was on for years, is that there's a lot of potholes. This is how they put it, potholes in the mental health care system. Eli Robinson had mental health issues from the time he was a young boy, and they never could figure out how to get him on the right path. And he was admitted into different mental health facilities 16 different times in the last 5 or so years of his life. And he had 30 rounds of electric shock therapy. They call it something different now, but it's kind of the same thing. He was taking medication on top of medication when he passed away. um, he was taking 12 different medications, and each one seemed to make him even worse. Um, he would average about 15 calls to Duncan Robinson's phone. Duncan Robinson had to turn his phone off a half hour before game time because he just couldn't focus. And he kept all this to himself. But then when he, turned his phone back on, he'd have average just in those couple of hours that a game was on, 15 different messages for him. And they just started getting worse and worse. And so I'm making this inspiration because I think that Robinson now is taking this awful thing that's happened in his life and he's trying to make some good out of it, which we should all do as believers, right? Whenever God is, puts us through something, he's telling us something, right? That there's some action that we should take on that. And Duncan Robinson is taking some pretty serious action for this one facility that they've locked in on. I think they've raised, I want to say $130,000, something like that so far, through donations. And it sounds like this is going to become life work for both, um, for both Duncan as well as the Robinson family. So condolences to them on the loss of their brother, but shout out to them for now very quickly taking this whole tragedy and using this story to, for the better. So Duncan Robinson is inspiration this week.
There we go. Yeah, it is a tough thing, and I would also just say for anyone that needs help, make sure you get help.
Yeah.
And I definitely see how sometimes it's just so challenging because like when we're dealing with people like both you and I, like that's what we do. That's how we do what we do. Like sometimes the problem isn't that there aren't any resources, it's trying to find the right resources for
Yep.
the right person. So,
Yep. Yep.
um,
Absolutely.
my inspiration's a little bit different to this. Like, it's not a specific story. Um, but I want to start out with the Bible verse, Proverbs 11:14. Without wise leadership, a nation falls. There is safety in having many advisors.
Hmm.
Um, and I want to kind of go with the story of the Seattle Mariners. Um, because something I was thinking about a couple of days ago was how I think we might have covered this on the podcast because we were doing it then 2021 when the Mariners CEO Kevin Mather, I believe his name was,
Hmm.
had gone on like a Rotary Club thing and was completely slamming his like the foreign players for not being able to speak English well
Oh,
enough.
I remember that.
Um,
Yeah.
he
Yep.
was like talking about like how he doesn't like to pay interpreters, talking about how cheap everything was for him and like horribly mistreating like the staff, a lot of sexual assault allegations, things like that. And then obviously, like when all that comes out, he then resigns. And look at what's happened to them since then. We're talking about a team that has been snake bitten for years. The next year, they finally make the playoffs, ending one of the longest playoff droughts in sports at the time. And then now here they are making the ALCS for the first time since 2001 and are now 2 wins away from making their first ever franchise World Series.
Mm,
And it just really got me thinking about how important leadership truly is and how, as John Maxwell puts it, everything rises and falls on leadership.
yeah.
And like you definitely see it there because like the team is exciting, the team is fun. It's a team that you kind of want to root for if your team is out of it.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
for Yankee fans, it's easier because you don't want to root for the Blue Jays, but that's not the point. Um, but
Yeah.
overall, like I do like what they've done, and I hope that they do well. My dream World Series is Seattle, Milwaukee. That way, someone walks
Yeah.
away with their first ever World Series. So
Yeah.
shout out to
Yeah.
the Mariners.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. 1977, both them and the Blue Jays came in the same time, right? Was when they came in, and you're right, they had that long playoff drought. That 2001, that was the last time that they were in the playoffs, which is very interesting. And Dan Wilson, so they've got a homegrown player who's now their manager, right? He was a good catcher for them for a long time, and so I think that's interesting. I love that. Excellent, excellent. Love it, love it. All right. So will we know who's in the World Series this time next week? Yeah, I think we will, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we
If
should.
not, we'll be
We'll be
close.
close. If not, yeah, yeah. So that's going to be interesting. We will take a deep dive into the NBA next week, as well as continue on this NFL trip. Should be a great week. So Kenny, take us home.
Yeah, we definitely will. Tuesday is the
Yeah.
final game 7, if necessary.
Okay.
Also, the other Pistons guy is Malik Beasley. So,
Malik Beasley. Yes, I started to
yeah.
say Malik Monk. He's still a pretty good player, I think, on Sacramento, right? Malik Monk.
Yeah.
Uh, but Malik Beasley, nobody assigned him yet, right?
Oh,
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
so.
so.
Because the Knicks were supposedly interested. Maybe the Knicks should revisit that now that Brogdon has retired, but he's not a point guard either. They need a backup point guard to give, our guy Jalen a little bit of rest. But we'll get more into NBA next week.
Yeah. But in the meantime, this is Kenny Squared N.
Kenny?
Sports on the Positive Tip. We'll see you guys next time.